Welcome back. I'm John Cole Morgan, and as you can tell, it's block of the week. I'm very excited. We're on block 7. So let me show you the block that we're going to be making today. How scary is that? But it's not, I promise you, it's really easy. So that is where it's going to be going, over here. And you can see you've got your triangles going in different directions. You've got a rectangle there, and I know all of you are going, I'm terrified. But don't be, I'm going to make it nice and easy for you now. And you've made it this far, you're more than halfway through the blocks. Fabulous. So this is our colorway in the blue, which you can see behind me hanging on the wall. And then our clear winner of colors, you all love this vintage colorway. This is the color we're going to be making in the vintage there. Isn't that gorgeous? Really, really lovely. And then the color I'm going to be demoing in today is our Brights colorway. Look at that. Isn't that fab? Really, really, really great colorway. Now, some of you may be joining in this morning and going, hang on, what are you talking about? I've not heard of a block of the week. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't worry. We have got every single block that we've ever made, everything that we've got available, all ready for you. You can look it up on the website, so you can go, and if you've missed a week, you can look on the website and just type in block of the week, and all the different patterns and all the different colorways will come up. There are now 7 blocks on there, 3 different colorways for each week, so there are 21 different SKUs for each one. So you'll easily be able to find all of that. Now, as I've just said, there are 21 different SKUs and bundles that you can get. So when you get your pattern and your product, let me show you exactly what you're going to get. First thing you'll get is, let's say we're doing the vintage colorway. So the first thing you're going to get is our set of instructions. And this is really, really easy. And you're going to get our panel. The panel, I'll just show you the vintage colorway just to show you. Each week, this panel will change in shape and size. But look at that. So this week, you can see we've got a nice big square of green. We've got a longer section of pink and black than we normally do, and the pink and grey. Now remember, I'm referring to the colours on this. That is not what the colours in the pattern are called. And that's okay, because what I have done is I've written the pattern slightly differently, because it's impossible to be able to get everything done for each colorway that you want to do. So that is our vintage colorway, but oh, I'm folding this away and I haven't shown you what I was trying to show you. So on each one of these, you will see each one of the fabrics that you're using have got words on them as well. So you've got fabric number 1, which is up there. So this is our vintage colorway. We've got fabric number 1, and I'm just going to drag in our blue one as well, if I can get it the right way around. So this is my blue colorway. You can see this is blue. That's fabric number 1. But now on my fabric blue, fabric 3 is different to my vintage fabric 3 in color. So everything that in the pattern you will be seeing is going to be referred to as fabric 1, 2, 3, and 4 per the colors I have used on the outside pattern here. Now I know that sounds a little bit confusing, but let me show you an example over here. So over here you've got fabric number 1. And with fabric number 1, you see you're going to cut 2 squares, and I'm hiding how much you measure it for, because, you know, you've got to buy the pattern. And you get fabric 1 over here. So that's what I'm referring to for fabric 1. That's it there. So in every single one of these bundles, you'll be able to see that it's got fabric name over there. That's fabric number 1. That's how big you're cutting everything to. So you need to remember how much you're doing that to. So that's really, really important that you remember how you're doing that. And it's the same applies for fabric 3, fabric 2, and fabric 4. Now remember, my top tip in doing all of this is each week, whatever colorway you're doing, and it doesn't matter, do this every week, it will make your life a lot easier. Cut out where it says fabric 1, fabric 3, fabric 2, and fabric 4. And I take these and I pin them to the side of my panel each time, because the number of times, you know, not all of us have got time to be able to do this all in one go. You're doing it over several weeks. You lose track of which color is which. If you just do the simple step of attaching fabric 1, 2, 3, and 4 to the edge of your pattern, you're never going to lose it. You'll always remember which color is which, and you're not going to get them confused. So that's my top tip on that. It always refers to fabric 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then in my pattern over here, fabric 1 is white, fabric 2 is pink, fabric 3 is grey, and fabric 4 is black. That's on my design that I've done here, but that's not the colorway that you're going to get it in here. And the one that we got the most issues with, not issues, but a bit of confusion, is when it comes to the vintage, because people have asked, but hang on, you've got green here, but it's grey. It's not the colors on your panel. It's referring to fabric 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the pattern. So that's really, really important. The other question that I have been seeing online is my block doesn't come out to the size that you've measured it, the size it's supposed to be. So there are 2 or 3 reasons that's happened. Firstly, it's maybe your seam allowance. The seam allowance, sometimes what I call a 1/4 of an inch, is slightly different to perhaps what Debbie would call a 1/4 of an inch. And that doesn't mean that we are bad sewers or different in any way whatsoever. It just means that we're using different measurements on our machines. And that's absolutely fine. Don't worry about it at all. We will fix it. What I will say, if your block comes out to be more than a sort of 1/2 inch to an inch bigger than what it is, go back and read the pattern. You'll find this would have started in sort of week 5, and in week 5, in steps 1 and step 2, you have got a trim these blocks down to a certain size. So if you go and reread steps 1 and step 2, you should be able to trim those down to the steps, because I think there may have been some confusion compared to the notes as to what you're actually trimming everything down to in the steps 1 and 2. So just go back and reread your pattern. If you've made it bigger, please don't worry, because I'm really the king of making it work, because I want to make sure, and I hate unpicking. I do not like unpicking in the slightest. And the nice thing about having been able to do it this way is that I've been able to manipulate the sashings and the borders in order to make this all work. And the other thing to remember is, although I've laid this out this way, you don't have to lay it out this way. I think this layout works very, very well. But if you wanted to put that over there, that's fine. And what will happen is, when we get to the end of the 12 weeks, you'll measure all your blocks. You will see that there is a synergy at the start of the process. Towards the end of the process, you'll find your 1/4 inch would have got a lot more accurate. Your half square triangles would have got a lot more accurate, because you're practicing them a lot more and you're doing different techniques, and we're going to square the blocks up. So you'll find from the very beginning towards the end, your techniques are going to have changed quite a lot. So you may find, this was our block 1, that doesn't measure the size it's supposed to, but you'll find block 7 matches perfectly. Please don't worry about it. That's because you're improving, that you're getting better with the techniques, and that's what this is for. It is a skill builder. You're supposed to be starting off not knowing exactly what you're doing, or you may be a completely experienced sewer and all of your blocks measure exactly, your 1/4 inch is perfect. Well done. That's exactly what we're looking for. So now we've got block 7. I've shown you what you're going to get for the vintage colorway. Let me show you now for the blue. Now, I'm not going to unwrap every panel, just because I want to make sure I make the block for you. So this is the blue colorway that you're getting. So you're going to get this lovely pattern, fabric pattern bundle here. You're going to get the instructions as well, with the details of how to make the block on it as well. And what I would remind you to do is, in steps 1, 2, and 8, you will be given a size on what to trim your blocks down to. That's going to be the most important thing, that you make sure you trim those down to that size. If you don't, your block will be slightly bigger, and that's where the issue is going to come in if you've got a block that's slightly bigger or smaller. So just make sure you're checking in the actual steps process what size you're trimming those down to. So that's the blue colorway, and then the colorway I'm going to be working with today is our brights colorway. So for the bright bundle, you're going to get the panel as well as the instructions, and that's what you're going to be getting for $11.99. Now, a couple of questions I was asked previously is how do I cut the blocks up? What am I doing? How do I get that to the size and all that? Excuse me, sorry, I've got wires running around on my back here and it's very confusing. Sorry. In the last 3 episodes, you will see that I've started from the very beginning to the very end on the block. You'll find today I've not done that just because this is a little bit more complex block and I'd rather you can all go back and watch episodes 3, 4, 5 and 6 to see how I cut all the blocks up. It's exactly the same thing that we've done before. You're going to separate all your colors. You're going to get your fabric 1. I can't remember what my fabrics are called, forgive me. You're going to get your fabric 2 and your fabrics 3 and 4. You're going to get them all separated into different colorways. The reason is it just makes your life a lot easier being able to have them as separate items, being able to cut up all the blocks. So I've already gone ahead and sewn some of these together. And I'm just doing that for ease because you don't need to see me cutting all of these. Right, give me 10 seconds to lay this out because I've completely forgotten to do something. It's quite usual for me, quite usual. So what I'm doing is, right, so on top of the fact that we are now in week 7, you can now go and search up blocks 1 to 6 if you've missed one. You just type in block of the week on the website. But if you're joining us today for the first time and you want to take part and you're loving the look of the quilt, you can now go and buy a bundle. Blocks 1 to 7 in the blue colorway is now on your screen, so you can search the code U for uniform, Z for Zulu, X for X-ray, C for Charlie, 59, and you'll be able to get the colorway in blue. So this is the blue colorway that we've got over here, and the bundle will then have blocks 1 to 6, 1 to 7, all these different panels. So we're doing blue. You're going to get 7 different panels that will come to you with all the instructions, 7 sets of instructions, 7 panels, all making it so much easier for you to be able to carry on, and you've got it all in one go. I know a lot of people have been trying to do it in one, you've got a glut of them and do them all in one go. On the website, unfortunately, we've got our little gremlin still back again, and if I'm touching it properly, there you go. So that code over there, U for uniform, Z for Zulu, X for X-ray, C for Charlie, 59, that's what you're going to be typing into the SKU if you want the blue colorway. Shall we do the brights colorway next? So this is the brights quilt as well. So I'm hoping not to destroy the set. The last time I did this, I threw the quilt onto the camera in front of me, so I'm taking things a lot more carefully today. This is the brights colorway that we're doing as well. I think it's nice to be able to see all the different colors before you make your purchase. This is the brights colorway that we've got. And I have to say, I love all of them, but they're all so different in their different benefits in each one. But you can just see all of the blocks are so interesting and so fun, and I'm trying to make sure that they're all user-friendly for you to be able to do them as we go. So if you haven't taken part with us yet on the block of the month, a block of the week, you're going to be able to take part now and get your entire set of 7 blocks in the brights colorway there. The code you're going to be typing in is A for Alpha, R for Romeo, X for X-ray, C for Charlie, 37, and that's going to give you your blocks 1 to 7, not only with the fabric panels but also the instructions on how to make blocks 1 to 7. But now if you haven't taken part, why is this not working? Sorry, this is taking, there we go. Sorry, are you talking to me? Hello? Oh, okay. So then, oh gosh, sorry. That's really pretty. I don't know where that came from, but there we go. Put that over here. If you are wanting to do the vintage colorway, which is the one that has proved to be the most popular with everybody, you've got this colorway. And luckily I'm not dropping this on the floor today, which is great. And this is our vintage colorway. So you'll see that there is a description, sorry. There's a SKU there of D for Delta, Q for Quebec, X for X-ray, C for Charlie, 10. That's for blocks 1 to 7. Vintage. Sorry, Laura, are you talking to me, darling? Sorry. The blocks 1 to 7 of the vintage colorway there are available in a complete bundle. That's going to be the fabric bundles, the instructions, everything available there for you in one go. And you can do all 7 blocks at once. That's going to be £83.93. This is the vintage colorway that we've got here, proving to be the most popular in our colorways that we've got. Really, really lovely, that one. And the great thing about being able to take part now is if you haven't joined us already, we've got a fantastic Facebook community doing all these blocks. Every single day we're seeing different people post different blocks, and some of them posting multiple blocks and things like that. And the great way is you've got that community feel, because that's why we wanted to do this as a block of the week, because we wanted people to be able to do things and do projects together in order to be able to not feel quite so on their own at the moment, so that you can now take part and do a joint project together. And you've got the community feel of being able to take part in that. It's a really great way of being able to be involved. And with everybody posting their pictures online as well, that comes really handy because you're able to do it. And I'm loving the fact that when people ask questions on there, our wonderful community, if I don't get to the question as quickly as I'd like to, you've got other people then who are able to help you because they've made the block so long. Oh, I'm hearing more gremlin issues. Okay, so everybody who's looking to do block 7, the website is having its moment again. These gremlins are out to get me this morning. It's not available on the website at the moment, even if you do search the code. So if I could trouble you, it's a toll-free number, 0800 001 4433. You're all so kind and supportive, and you're so helpful when situations like this happen. If you don't mind giving the call centre a ring, they'll be able to place your order for your block 7 very, very easily. The website's just having a little bit of a moment, and Laura, bless her, she's working so hard to get it all working. That was why I couldn't realise if she was talking to me or not. She was talking to IT to get it sorted. So we're all working so hard to get it all sorted for you. The bundles from number 1 to 7 are all available, so if you haven't joined in and you'd like to, those are all available for you. If you have already joined in and you can't get your bundle yet, I know the minute I come off air, literally at 3 minutes past 11, I promise you they will be on the website, because that's just what happens every time. Everyone's working so hard to make sure that it's all working smoothly, and we're all doing our best, so thank you for bearing with us with that. So what am I doing now? Let me start with what I've done. So the first thing I've done is I've cut off fabric 1, fabric 2, fabric 4, and fabric sorry, I got that wrong. You see, this is why we pay attention. Fabric 1, fabric 3, fabric 4, and fabric 2. So whether I put that on my head or my sewing machine or somewhere, put these somewhere visible that you're not going to get confused. And I tell you that out of personal experience, because I have gotten confused. And I wrote the pattern. So even me writing the pattern, getting it wrong, it's annoying, but it does happen. So you're then going to lay these out as you go along. So you can see I've done a lot of the work already. These are really simple. You're going to get 2 squares. You're going to cut those squares in half, and you're then going to put these into half square triangles. So we've done this a few times. I'm not going to do that today very much because we've done it in the past. If you are just joining us today and you haven't taken part, check our YouTube channel. It's www.youtube.com. You'll have a search bar at the top. If you type in Sewing Street, you'll be able to go and look at all of our videos going back to the 14th of February when we did our first broadcast. And every single one of the block of the weeks are a separate video now. We make sure that we pull those out so you've got them all available for you to be able to then see my tips and tricks and things that I've done slightly differently to the pattern, just to make your life a little bit easier. And you can then go through each of one of those, and you can see all the videos and catch up with them. And again, check out our social media. Our fans page is full of these amazing blocks, so it's lovely to be able to keep involved with it that way. Few little tools that I find are essential for this project. We're going to do them in our 10 o'clock hour, but I'm going to bring them out now just because it just makes your life so much easier with the process. So the first thing I use religiously through this process is my rotating cutting mat. First of all, wait to get it laid in. Firstly, because you get to do that when you get bored and it just spins round. And I love these mats because when we're squaring everything up, it is so much easier to do it. Speaking of squaring up, we've got our 8.5 inch square ruler. This is essential for this process. You've got your lovely rotary cutter, and then today I'm using the 6.5 by 12.5 inch ruler. It just makes your life that little bit easier in what we are doing. So now, being on air, live in front of all of you, I have forgotten all the sizes that I'm cutting everything to, so please bear with me for 2 seconds while I gather myself. I know I need that, and I need to cut 2 more of those. So get your cup of tea ready. We're going to do this nice and quietly together. And luckily, when you make these blocks, you won't be doing it live on telly in front of everybody. So I'm now going to trim these down. So what you will find is I am taking the training wheels off next week. Bom, bom, bom. Now, don't get worried, that's not a problem because you've now all learned things. Oh gosh, I'd left my rotary cutter open for the first time ever. Mustn't do that. So what you need to make sure that you're doing is your half square triangles at this stage are going to have improved tenfold to where they would have been at the beginning of the process, because I'm showing you we're cutting our blocks bigger than they need to be, and I just need to double check. So I need 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay. I think I only need 2 of those. There we go. So I'm cutting these bigger than they need to be, and we're trimming them down. Now, the reason we're doing that is because we're all still learning. We're at the beginning stages. Now, you're going to see I've got a huge amount of fabric here. I've got, what, 1, 2, 3, 6 layers. Do not cut 6 layers if you're not confident. Just because I do doesn't mean you have to. I feel confident cutting this many layers. You might not be. So you just cut. You want to cut these individually, go ahead. There's no rush. There's no race. No one's going to be upset if you cut these individually. You just do them nice and slowly for what works for you. But you will find it a lot easier using this mat. Whoops. It's always the way, isn't it? Right, so now I'm cutting these that way. Wait, let me check there. Yes, right. Oh, I think we've got a message in, yes. Oh, from Jeanette. Morning, she's saying, good morning, John. She's loving. Oh, loving this block design. Thank you, Jeanette. She's saying we're so right regarding skills. Yay! She's saying she's so right that her skills are improving week by week. Oh, that makes me so happy. She's saying she can't improve. I can't believe how her point matching has improved since week 1. Jeanette, you have literally made my day. That's exactly what I want to hear. Thank you. Can't wait to make the blue/vintage. Oh, she must have gotten both of them. Block 7 today. Oh, Jeanette, that makes me so happy. I'm so pleased. And I'm really, please put photos on our Facebook page. I can't wait to see them all. That's brilliant. Oh, that makes me very, very happy. And that's what this is about, to be able to do that sense of community and make sure that you are improving your skills as you go around. I think that's wonderful. Oh, that's really made me very happy. Thank you. But again, you can see, I said to you about the rotating cutting mat. I've now laid this down, got my measurement right, pressed my gorgeous Creative Grids ruler down, and there I go. I trim and I'm sorted. And then I cut this across the diagonal. And there we go. Disadvantage of cutting 6 layers, you don't always get through them all on the first time. Right, so I now need to work out how many of these I need. So I've got my... Bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, bum. Anybody else sing to themselves when they do these? So I need 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so that I think is all the blues I need. Yes, that's all the blues, and then I need to do double that for the yellows. So I need 1, 2, 3. Now, I know all of you are thinking that looks so boring, but I promise you this makes your life so much easier, because you can then see exactly where you are, how many you need to do. And because when you cut these all out, I love the fact that you can just put these next to each other, lay the block out as it should be, and then you can just sew these all together as you go. Even just get a really big space, because all of these get trimmed down, because these are definitely not the right size at the minute. Don't tell me I've cut all of the... Oh, that's brilliant. Sorry, I didn't realize I'd done that so perfectly. Oh, goodness, that is exactly what I need left to finish the block. So what I would say is that if you are making this block, as you go around, lay these out on your table in the order they're meant to go. It just makes your life that little bit easier to be able to make sure that you're doing what you can. Now, I'm going to do something called chain piecing, and what that is I'm going to take these two together. Now, I don't know if I'm going to go back a step. Sorry, I've jumped ahead. What I just want to remind everybody of, and unfortunately I haven't used contrasting thread on this, so I'm going to do that now. What we're looking to do here is we're going to just sew 1/4 inch down this side. Now, this is not too much of a problem on this block, because I'm trimming this block down, and I have again plugged my iron in, not turned her on. That was the other tool that you need. You need this lovely prim iron. It's fabulous. Available in the next hour along with our June Taylor pressing mat. And so what I'm done now is I've now put a seam on there. So what's so important, you can see I've used a contrasting thread. Okay. Now, I want to be very clear, this is not the size of the triangle you're going to be doing. Now, if I put my black line on that contrasting thread, you see this line here where it says 1/4? If I put that on my contrasting thread, can you see that that is exactly 1/4 inch? So that is exactly 1/4 inch. If I slide that over this way, you can see the edge of my ruler here. Perhaps if I put it on this, you might be able to see it a bit better. So you can see I've just gone a little bit squiffy on that side, but if I put my ruler down there, you can see I am on exactly 1/4 inch. Let me move that up a bit. Now, I'm going to congratulate myself for hitting my 1/4 inch. That is exactly what you're looking for. So when I said you've got to sew 1/4 inch, that is 1/4 inch. This fabulous 560 that we've got here, what you need to do is you need to move your needle across to 5.5, and I'm using my normal stitching foot here, the normal plain A foot, not 1/4 inch foot, because I'm a bit... This is just your normal bog standard A foot, A foot. It's called an A foot. It's a general sewing foot. When I do this, I line my foot up. You can see my fabric there is lined up completely with the edge of the foot. And then my needle, because I've moved it over to 5.5, my needle is stitching just there. So this foot is just as good as 1/4 inch foot, because you line everything up to here. You just move your needle along, going along that way, and it's just a different way of doing it. Because I know a lot of people rely on their 1/4 inches, which is absolutely fine, their 1/4 inch feet, but sometimes you're pressing up to the little bar thing that comes down, and over time that moves over ever so slightly, so your 1/4 inch just gets that little bit bigger because we're pressing against that bar. That's why I prefer that. So this is 1/4 inch. Now, for next week, when we go and we don't have the option of trimming down, you're going to be doing what's known as a scant 1/4 inch. And let me show you what I mean by a scant 1/4 inch. So you can see exactly here, my thread line is on 1/4 inch. So next week, when I do it, and when you're doing this without, if you're going to cut these to your exact sizing, so you'll see in the pattern there's a note section. If you're now feeling not so confident and you want to make sure you can trim everything down, you can then sew on that 1/4 inch absolutely fine, exactly as I've done it there. If you're a little bit more advanced and you're wanting to make sure that you get it without doing the 1/4 inch and you've got your pieces cut to the exact size, can you see where my 1/4 inch line on my ruler is 1 thread length away from that line? That is where you're going to look to put your seam line, on this side of it. So you can see there's my seam line now that I've done. What you're looking to do is to put your seam line now where my 1/4 inch line is on the ruler, and that's called a scant 1/4 inch. And the reason you want to do that is because when I set my seams here, and I fold this back or press them open or however I do it, if I now press that back, and I'm so glad Kat's able to zoom in so nicely on this, because this is a proper zoom. Over here, you'll see as I've pressed this back, over here on the line, you can see I've got the line there. As I press this back, I've obviously got the fabric folding at that section. So I'm losing 2 or 3 threads of fabric on this as I press it across. So if you've got that scant 1/4 inch, so you can see there's my thread line there, and I'm then folding over. I've got 2 or 3 threads over here. So if I don't use that scant 1/4 inch, this triangle will be 2 or 3 threads small on all the sides. So it just means it's a little bit short on what we're looking for, which is not ideal. So when we get to next week, you need to make sure that you're comfortable with your 1/4 inch and your scant 1/4 inch, and that's what's so important on all of these. So I'm going to now chain piece all of these together very quickly. And it really is very quick. I've spoke to you last week and the week before about using a donkey. I'm not going to repeat that because I think you can go and look that up on the previous weeks. And you should all be using that already because it's one of those things that works. So if you are going to chain piece, what you're doing is you're putting all of these in one after the other. But it also, oh, that's a very good point actually, and it saves on thread because a lot of us don't like wasting threads, and it's not about the money, the aspect of that, it's more about the environment when you don't want to be wasting things if you don't need to. Now remember, you're sewing along a biased edge here, so you've just got to make sure you're not pulling the fabric or tugging it or leaning it to one side, because that will distort your triangle, which is not what we want to do. So what we're doing now is I'm working with the Brights colour at the moment. That's the one that you've already seen. That's the colorway that we've got now. So the graphics are going to change as we go along for the different colorways, and we're doing all these things as well. So the website, Laura, you're really loud. Sorry, love. The website is having a bit of a problem at the moment, so please just bear with us at the moment. If you call up to the call centre, they will be able to help you with Block 7. That's not a problem. You know what it's like, these gremlins, they're there and they're coming to make themselves known. We know you're there. We want you to go away. But on a positive note, as I said to you, the minute we finish that hour, if there's anything that you want from the last hour, unfortunately not the mega bundle because we sold out, can't believe it, but really not surprised. Everything is now available on the website, so make sure you check that out. That's everything from the last hour. And I have no doubt the second we enter our 10 o'clock hour, all the little gremlins would have gone away looking for something to annoy us with on the next one. Now, our bundles are all on there, so blocks 1 to 7, if you haven't joined in on our process before. These are all available on the website for you already, so you can easily go and check all those out. That's all available. It's just block 7 on its own, causing a few problems. They're all working on it at the moment, and it's taking a little while to do, but you can see the stuff from the last hour already on, so it's not taking very long. We will get there. And besides, you can't buy it now. You're watching how to do it. So there we go. So that's what chain piecing is, and you can see I've got all my little triangles all in one go. And I'm just using this fabulous thread cutter on here. If I'd been clever enough, because that fabulous 560 has an automatic thread cutter, I would have actually just gone and cut them all as I went, but that would have taken me not talking at the same time to remember such things. So again, I'm telling you all these wonderful products I'm using as I go. This is my little prim iron. So everybody always asks, seams open, seams left, seams right. How do you do it? That is entirely up to you. I personally prefer pressing my seams open. It takes a little bit longer, which is why I am not going to do that at the moment, because I don't have all that much time to finish the block for you. So normally you'll find I pressed all my seams open. You can do it how you prefer. It's entirely up to you. There is no right or wrong. I will say, as a quilter, a long arm quilter, your block is a lot flatter if you press your seams open. So that is one definite advantage of being able to do that. You'll find each time before I start opening these triangles up, we're using polyester thread at the moment, so I'm setting my seams, which just causes that polyester thread to kind of go on itself, and by that I mean it just restricts on itself because it's got some heat on it. That just means that the seam becomes a little bit stronger, and then when you press it open it just holds, or you press it over like this, it just holds that seam that little bit better by having pressed it first. There we go. 3 more to go. And there we go. I have to say this prim iron is perfect for this little project. Really great. And any tools I'm using now, you can see how I'm using them now, and I'll do a demo for these at 10 o'clock because I think it's always important that you know which tools are really good for doing these projects. This is a really good example of where I said to you about a 1/4 inch and a scant 1/4 inch. So you can see there with the blue thread over there perfectly shows how the scant 1/4 inch versus a 1/4 inch works. So I know that that is a 1/4 inch, but as I've folded that over, can you see I've got 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 threads along there, which is causing that to not be exactly what I want it to be. And it doesn't matter how you press that, it's still not going to be exactly right. So when we come to scant 1/4 inches, you need to make sure that you practice that for next week. There you go. I've brought you homework. And what I'm loving is all of you have said how much fabric you've got left over on all of these. So that's really good to know. Sorry, I'm just doubting myself on what size I'm cutting these. Well, that's because I've got the ruler upside down. We've all done that. There we go. That is what I thought it was. I just wanted to double check. Right, so the measurements on what you're trimming this to are all in the pattern for you. Just make sure, you'll see I'm now going to trim all 4 sides of these triangles because you then don't end up with one side of the triangle being lopsided. I'm always making sure that that central 45-degree line is lined up perfectly on our central bit there to be able to make sure that we're getting this to the right size. Forgive me while I put my head in the way. Lining up that central line, and we're doing that. But the great thing with this is because I read a post on one of the sites saying that a lady had an entire panel left over. She hadn't even cut the panel and she'd already made that week's block. So she had a whole panel left over, and people were asking, is there a design of what we can do with our leftover fabric? Really great idea. Maybe you can all come up with some ideas. I think that's a wonderful idea. So you're going to now trim each and every one of these little blocks that you've chain pieced. You're going to trim these down to the size that's written in the pattern. These are in steps 1 and 2. You'll be able to then find what you're trimming these down to. And these are not going to be the size that you've cut it to. It'll be the size that you're trimming to that's written in your steps 1 and 2. So if your block hasn't worked out to be the exact size, just double check what size I've said to trim your blocks down to in each of the steps. And that should be able to answer your question if you've had anything not come out to quite the right size. But again, if it doesn't come out to the right size, don't worry. There are tricks that I'm going to show you in our week 12 or 13. I can't remember which week it is. And you'll easily be able to then see where you are at that point. I can't believe we're on week 7 already. It's just gone so quickly. It's brilliant. And I'm loving the fact that everybody's really enjoying these blocks of the week and people keep asking, what's the next one? What's the next one? I love that. And don't worry, we're already looking at different ideas, don't you worry. And there we go. So this is where you've just got a lot of these. You've got to trim 4 sides each time, all the way around. You keep going round and you're doing it. And the great thing with this ruler is that you can, I've just been rotating the ruler. I've been using this. I did this the whole last block as well. I didn't use my rotating mat once, which is a bit silly. And there we go. Checking I'm trimming these to the right size. And this ruler is so perfect for this process because you've got that central line that you're lining up, and you've got your 2 edges to square off, and then when you come to the other side, you know that those 2 edges that you've just cut, these 2, are perfectly square, and then if you line those up against the size you want the block to be, and then you line your central line up and you've got that corner, it works perfectly for you to be able to make it a nice, perfectly square, accurate block with your triangle hitting point to point. I've got a rogue thread there. Oh. Just making it worse. Oh, you can just stay there then. Does anybody else get that? Where you get a thread, you try and cut it off, and you're like, oh well. You want to be in the quilt so much, you can stay. And there we go. Oh, and I've done it again. I haven't rotated my mat. Oh, my ruler moved a little bit there. Fine. Right, so that's all my yellows, and now I'm just going to do my last 4 little blues. So you see what I mean? If I'd done this for all 32 of them, that would have been a little bit boring for you. Because what you don't get in 16... and there we go. And that's the great thing now, is you can just sit back, watch how I've made it, and then when our website comes back up and running later with all the blocks, you'll be able to go and get them then. Otherwise, call the call centre. You'll easily be able to get your block delivered then. Really lovely people there able to help you. You've got 1-day P&P, so you don't have to worry about paying more for your postage. It doesn't cost you more if you check out more times. So there we go. I keep picking it up. I keep forgetting. Keep forgetting. There we go. Oh, I think this is coming up for a new blade. I might have to change this in the next hour. I hear we've got them in the next hour, so I might be able to do that on air. Of course, there's nothing wrong with changing a blade on live television. What could possibly go wrong? Andrew, can you just quickly go and check if my fingers are insured, please? Just in case. Just in case. That's the thing with these rotary cutters. You've got to be so safe with them. Make sure you're very safe. And there we go. The last 2 seams we trimmed on this one. But you can see what I mean. It's all the same. You just go through the whole process. You trim these down each and every time. Get them to the right size. Just take your time with it. There's no rush. And you see, that's what I love about the block of the week thing, because I think a block of the month is great, but the block of the week, I find it's one of those projects that you can actually put to one side, but it's not going too far away, because I think I've done blocks of the month before where I've put them away nice and safe and think, oh, I'll come back to that. 4 years later, I've still not come back to it. So what you're going to make now is you're going to make these cheat flying geese. So that's what I've done here. That's what's so fun about this, is you're going to make these cheat flying geese. That's what I'm calling them. And then you're going to sew them down the middle here. Now, this point is, and excuse me while I brag, perfect. Perfect. If your point is not perfect, don't worry, no one cares. No one's going to be upset about it. You don't have to worry. If you are unpicking, please, I beg you, take great care. There is bias here. You're going to stretch your fabric. So unpicking these repeatedly, I would say to you, put the book to one side. You have enough fabric left over. cut yourself another one. It's just easier, because if you start stretching these and distorting them, when you do sew them together, yes, you may have hit your point, but you'll find that your block is longer one way than the other. It's going to distort the fabric. You've got enough fabric. Just cut yourself another one and do it again. Now, my top way of sewing these together, it's a little bit of a fiddle. So the first thing I do is I line them up there and there, okay? There and there. But on top of that, I fold this back and I check that that line is going in a straight line. You can see there that that's in a perfect straight line, but if they were lined up like that, you can see they're not in a straight line. Because now you can see here and here is fine. You can line those up perfectly, but look there, it's not lined up. So when I fold this back, you can see that my line is not in a straight line. So that's when you can tell that you get there. So you've got these now all lined up perfectly. Yep, that matches fine. That's measured and that's measured. But now you're not going to go and put the lumpy bit in your sewing machine first, because your machine's just going to go bleh and not like it. So you put your fingers there nice and taut and turn it round and double check there. Rotate this back and check again, and you take the two little sections there, line that up. Now here I would suggest you do use a scant 1/4 inch, and that's literally one thread. Don't do more than that, because then your block will be too skinny. Right, there we go. Fabulous 560's got a thread trimmer there, and you can see that's all I've done now. Wait, have I got it? There we go. Now you can see that's lined up perfectly. That is perfect. So what I would do then is these, I do take that time to press open for two reasons. One, because it's going to be a nice big, a nice way of double checking. You can see my point is perfection there. You can tell that your triangle's perfect. But also with this, once you've pressed that nice and flat, you've got less layers to sew through as you get through all these blocks. And when you come to sew it, there are three reasons really. When you come to sew it, this is on the top. You know that your needle needs to go into that little white section over there, and you'll know if you've hit that point when you come to sew these together. So that's why I press my seams open on these. And now I'm just going to do exactly the same thing for the last 5 of these. And if you don't get the point right, that's okay. There are 16 of these that you're going to make. So if you don't get the first one, don't worry, you can get the second one. And you always put the one that you're a bit worried about on the bottom left-hand corner, because allegedly that's the bit that nobody ever looks at of your quilt. Apparently that is a thing. I didn't know that until recently. But the bottom left-hand corner is where, or top, is it the top or the bottom? It's the bottom left-hand corner where nobody actually looks at the quilt. So I think that's where you go and hide all your little mistakes. But equally, I have never heard of anybody giving a quilt back because you've missed a point. And if somebody's going to be critical of your work like that, well, I'll have the quilt with your points being funny then. You know what would be really, really nice on our social media page? Why doesn't everybody post a picture of their very, very first quilt? Mine is terrifying. It is absolutely terrifying. It is really, really bad, but I think that's actually quite a nice way of doing it. Maybe we can do your first and your last quilt. That could be quite nice. That could be quite nice, seeing everybody's first and last quilts. That would be good. And certainly what I'm loving, I think we definitely need a block of the week gallery of all the different groups that what everybody has done. Well, that's Hailey B's day sorted. Someone WhatsApp her, she'll get right on it. There we go. So that's our last little block that we're doing there. Oh, I did trim one off. So now what you're going to do here is you're going to press these all open again. And this iron is perfect for this. Oh, come on. Oh, I missed that point very spectacularly there. Oh well. But look, you can tell. Now that's what it looks like when you've missed a point. That one I would probably quite happily put into the quilt. But if you're not happy with that, my top tip, just cut 2 extra squares and just do it again. Because unpicking that, you're going to distort the fabric. That one's out as well. Oh, there we go. That one's fine. It's tele sewing. You're all going to just use your imaginations. But then again, you can see if I get it so wrong, it means you're going to get it so right, because the gremlins are really alive and well in our little studio today. They're running around like crazy. And again, remember, everything is on the bias on these triangles, so don't distort the fabric, don't pull it, don't tug it, just be gentle with it. Gently press everything down. I don't know if anybody watched yesterday's hour, by the way, but my husband did see me ironing yesterday, pressing, and he'd found my Prim iron that I keep at home, because I have a little iron at home, because I don't have a lot of sewing equipment at home. He found my little iron at home, and it was waiting for me with the ironing board, waiting for me to go and iron some shirts yesterday. Smile and nod. Thank you, darling. So now what you're going to do is you're going to lay these out as they're meant to be sewn. And I always find it really, really helpful to make sure that you're getting these in the right place. And it goes that way. There, there, and there. So you've now laid all of those out. Now these 2 sections are exactly the same. These 2 are exactly the same. They're just going in different directions. So when we sew these together, you're going to have 4 of them in total. What you're going to do is exactly the same for each one of these 3 seams. So the way I've done it is if I'm sewing this one first, I put that one on top there, and I put that one on top there, and I chain piece through them, because I know that my blue triangle here is the point where I'm going to try and make sure, firstly, because I press my seams open, I can rotate that back, and you can see there, my seams are perfectly lined up. And because I've got my seams pressed open, I can double check that, but also because I've got that white section over there, I'll stitch it and then show you what I've done in order to try and make sure I hit my seam. So this one I'm using, when I say scant 1/4 inch here, I'm doing 1 thread, and you'll know what I mean by that as you go along. Oh, I think I nailed that one. I'm going to do 2 of these just very quickly so that I can show you how you put these together. I'm just conscious of time. Oh, you know what? I'm going to do all of them. It's just easier. We're going to go and do the whole lot. Just easier. There we go. Now that one I think I missed, but that's good because I need to show you what you do if you've missed it. Right, so there we go. That's our 4 done. So I know for a fact I've missed that. Oh, I haven't. Gosh. So when I'm going to press these at the same time, it just makes life easier for you to be able to see it. Now again, I'm pressing my seams open here. You can press to one side, it's entirely up to you. I just think there's quite a lot of bulk, and when you come to quilt it, you're going to have quite a little lump there. Adding an extra 2 layers to it might not be the best thing. It's your call entirely, there's no right or wrong answer on that. In my ear, someone just said, "Where's your stiletto?" And that's exactly what I need. It's not just for pointing, it actually does have a use. There we go. Clever cat. There we go. And you just do these for all 4 of them. And you're leaning these back. And again, the pressing open does take that little bit longer. You do end up with a flatter block. It doesn't really matter if you do it one way or the other. What is important is you're pressing, not ironing. Literally just pressing like that, because ironing stretches this and everything's on the bias here. So we're trying to make sure we're not going to distort our blocks, because you've spent so long doing this now. You want to make sure that you just try and keep this as well as you go. What I will say from personal experience, if you are using steam, turn your steam off at this point, because not only are you going to burn your fingers, also you will distort the fabric. So you don't want to be doing that at the moment. So there, what I've done is I've just pressed these all flattened down, and over here, oh, that one's been hit. I'm happy with that. Happy with that one. That one is perfect. Right, so these 2 are perfect because you can see I've stitched on that side of the line. This one I'm very happy with. It's not exactly perfect, but I'm very happy with that one. And if anyone is at fault, it's this one, because you can see my thread is on this side of the blue point. So that's where the issues are. Now you'll just repeat that and sew these together like that. And I'm going to do one of them simply because you need to attach these to the sides of your triangle. Oh, of course you are. Of course you are. Oh, come on, please just go through and stitch. Nope. Of course it did. Right. That ate quite successfully, that. Hello, my darling. Why are you doing this to me today? Come on. I told you these gremlins are everywhere. Where is my little scrap fabric? You're just tired, aren't you, my darling? It's because I haven't given you a little bit of a pat, is it? So I'm going to sew straight over that again. I know, we all get tired. You want a little coffee, don't you, my darling? Me too. There we go. Right, so again, I just press these open. You won't have that. I'm going to press this to one side simply because I've got a nice little nest of threads there. Your machine won't be having a little moment. So there we go. We're going to now do that, and we're going to pretend that that one's sewn together. So we line these back up again. Just double check you're going in the right direction. So I'm going to put these there, and these, oh, I'm not in the right place. Right. And the great thing is, for fabric 4 this week, you've just got a giant square in the middle. Makes your life a lot easier. And there we go. So that is how your block is going to look. So what you're going to do next is you're going to sew this onto there and that onto there. And when you do that, the nice thing about having pressed all your seams open is you'll see here that's where you're wanting to stitch, because you've got that gap between the yellow and the white and you've got that little triangle. You're wanting your thread to come on this side of the yellow line, on that side of the blue line, on this side of the yellow line, and that means your points will be perfect on your triangle. So you do that on that side, do exactly the same over here. Again, you're looking at your little triangles coming in. That's why pressing your seams open on this does make your life a little easier, because you can then line up exactly where those go. So you sew those two onto there, and you can check. Just one thing, people do sew these on in the wrong direction. So double check your picture on how you're doing it. You need one going one way and one going the other way. Then you're going to sew these triangles. Now we're going to just pretend that that's, oh no, there we go. We're going to check that's the right way. Then what you're going to do here is you're going to make 2 of these. You're sewing these half square triangles that we've done earlier onto each side of that, sewing that into a strip. And then once these are sewn on over here, you then just sew those onto the top. So that is block 7. And when you're finished, it's going to look like this. So I'll show you the Brights colorway. This is a lot neater than what I've done live on air. So that's what your block's going to look like there in the blue colorway, in the brights colorway. If you're looking for the blue colorway, this is what it's going to look like there. Just get rid of the brights colors underneath it. So this is the blue colorway here. And then last and certainly not least, this is the vintage colorway. Each one of these, you're going to get a fabric panel with enough fabric to sew the entire block. I like showing you how much you have left over at the end of each week. This is what I had left over for week 7. That's got a label on the top, but you can see there's loads left over there. That is what I had left of that one, and that's what I had left there. So you can tell there's a lot of fabric left over. The only piece you may not have enough of, if you are making a mistake, is for fabric number 4, which is your main. Is it fabric 4? No, it's not. It's fabric number 2. You are only cutting one thing out of fabric number 2. So take it very easy. Do it really simply. Cut it bigger, then cut it down. I'd rather you cut the square bigger and then cut it down rather than make a mistake. So the only piece of fabric you need to be really, really careful of this week is fabric number 2, and it's when you're cutting out this square. If you make an error and you do make a mistake, don't worry. Your only issue you're going to have is you're going to have a seam in the middle of your square. Doesn't matter. No one's going to notice. It's patchwork anyway, so don't worry about it. That's the only other thing that you need to watch out for this week. Our website has been having a little bit of a moment this week, so we apologize about that. So any of the block 7s that you're looking for, make sure you give our wonderful call center a call. They'll easily be able to help you with that. What you're going to be getting each week, and this week specifically, sorry, I thought I'd thrown that in my tea. You're going to get the wonderful set of instructions, and then on top of the instructions, if you're going to be getting the brights colorway, this is going to be your brights colorway here. This is the panel that you're going to be getting, as well as the instructions. The code that you'll be searching on the website is over there. OYXC72. If that's not available on the website, because the website's having a bit of a moment, make sure you give our call center a ring. If you say block of the week number 7, they'll know what it is. Otherwise, just call that the code that you've got up there, write that down or pause us and you'll be able to do it. Then this is the vintage bundle. This has been the one that's the most popular. And this is the colorway that you're going to be doing for that. This is block 7 in the vintage colorway. The code there is E for Echo, H for Hotel, XC40. That's the colorway there. That is definitely the most popular one. And then we've got our second most popular one is the blues. That's available there. The code you're looking for is G for Golf, L for Lima, X for X-ray, C for Charlie, 25. So that's the code that you will ask for with the call center. Keep searching on the website. They are working very hard to make sure that it's right. Make sure you read the steps 1, 2 and 8 for the size that you need to trim your triangles down to, and on the previous patterns as well, the steps will be able to go from that. What was that about the mega bundle? Perfect. So also then, if you haven't ordered with us yet for the block of the week, these are all available on the website already, so you don't need to worry about searching anything. You can just look it up for block of the week. We have got all of the blocks that we've done so far. So I'm not going to show you the panels, I'll just show you the patterns. So this was week 6, this was week 5, this is week 4, this is week 3, I know there's week 2 here, this is week 2, and last but certainly not least, there's block number 1. So those are the 6 blocks that we've done before, and then obviously don't forget we've just done number 7. So these are the 7 patterns that you'll get in our bundle, whichever colorway you choose to do. We've got our brights color, vintage colorway behind the graphic there. We've got the blue behind me, and we've got the brights colorway there. So we've got 3 different colorways for you. These are all the blocks that we've made so far. I'm so excited about all of these. So if you haven't joined in, you can do that. It's a nice, easy way of being able to get involved, getting it all in one go. It's really, really great. So call the call center if you want block 7, and we'll be able to then catch up. Next hour is going to be a block of tools, so we will be able to then do that with you now. Redoing the set. See you in a few minutes.